The air outside was thicker than it looked. Samuel stepped into the moving veins of Centropolis, the crush of bodies flowing down the sidewalk, the staccato hiss of maglev trams sliding overhead, the crackle and pop of ancient hologram billboards struggling against the morning mist. The scent of fried bread and engine coolant tangled in the air, thick enough to taste. He adjusted the strap of his worn leather bag and moved with the crowd, not part of it, not quite apart from it. A ghost in a living machine. The sidewalks gleamed wet from a night's worth of misty rain, reflecting neon advertisements that flickered promises no one could afford. A vendor shouted prices in 3 languages. An old security drone buzzed overhead, its rusted shell coughing out static warnings about loitering. A hollow-eyed child threaded between the grown-ups, her coat 3 sizes too big, vanishing into the crowd before anyone could notice. 15 years ago, Samuel would have loved this, the hum of it, the life of it. Now, it felt like a carcass animated by habit. He passed a cracked plasma screen flashing news no one trusted, bold headlines about stock surges, quiet crawlers about new restrictions, the ever-present hum of controlled chaos. Just another day, Samuel thought. Another cycle of drudgery. Another 8 hours in the research wing, pretending the work mattered, pretending he wasn't slowly drowning under the weight of what he could no longer say aloud. The streets blurred past him in flickers of color and noise. But Samuel barely saw them anymore. His thoughts drifted backward, pulled against the current of the morning tide. He remembered the early days, when he and Elias Krell had believed they could change everything. Not just artificial intelligence. Not just robotics. Memory. Identity. The human soul, digitized, preserved forever. The Nexus grants had poured in back then, fueling their ambition. The labs had gleamed like temples. Everything was possible. Until it wasn't. Samuel tightened his grip on the strap of his bag as he walked. He could still hear Krell's voice, so certain, so hungry, arguing that control was the future. Samuel had argued for preservation, for freedom, for memory unbound. But in the end, Nexus had made the decision for both of them. They cut the funding, closed the labs, classified the research, sealed it away under so many layers of bureaucracy and silence that even speaking of it became dangerous. Krell had adapted easily, sliding into government projects, private sector contracts, new toys for new masters. Samuel couldn't. He hadn't wanted to build cages. He had wanted to build windows, bridges. So he left. He burned through his savings to buy equipment, rented dusty labs no one wanted, bartered for components on the edges of the city where no Nexus official ever bothered to look. He built it alone. Because some promises were too sacred to sell. A security patrol drifted overhead, 2 drones cloaked in metallic gray, their sensors sweeping the crowd like unseen fingers. Samuel kept his head down, his posture casual. He told himself it was only habit. That no one cared anymore. That he was just another man with a worn bag and a tired face, vanishing into the static of the morning commute. But sometimes, at the edge of his senses, he felt it. Eyes. Pressure. A lingering awareness as if someone somewhere still remembered him. And still cared. He moved a little faster, boots scuffing against cracked pavement, the city's heartbeat pounding hollowly in his ears. The building looked the same as it had yesterday. And the day before. And the month before that. A gray slab squeezed between 2 glass giants, the old research annex at the corner of Helix Avenue and 3rd. Once it had been a hub for private biotech initiatives, independent, hopeful, reckless. Now it was mostly forgotten. A mausoleum for abandoned projects and fading ambition. The automated entry scanner blinked lazily as Samuel swiped his worn clearance card. The doors sighed open, reluctant. Inside, the air was colder, drier. It smelled of bleach, rust, and the faint, lingering echo of electronics left running too long without purpose. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, some flickering at the edges like tired eyes struggling to stay open. Half the offices were empty, their glass walls covered in peeling privacy film. The rest were occupied by ghosts, technicians buried in monitors, contractors pretending not to notice one another, Researchers filling quota sheets instead of solving problems. No one looked up as Samuel entered. That suited him just fine. He made his way down the corridor to his assigned workspace, a narrow slice of a lab that stank of ozone and dust, crammed with aging servers and outdated equipment Nexus hadn't bothered to reclaim. The monitor on his desk booted up sluggishly, casting a pale blue glow across worn schematics and a cracked coffee mug someone had abandoned months ago. Another day. Another round of meaningless data runs. Another carefully logged series of experiments designed to fail slowly enough to justify the next grand extension. Samuel sat, dropped his bag on the floor, and exhaled a long, silent breath. He wasn't here to succeed. Not really. Success would draw attention. Questions. Eyes he didn't want. Better to let them believe he was tired. Broken. Forgotten. Better to work in the margins, in the places they didn't bother to look. Better to remember the real work, the real promise, was hidden, waiting, breathing quietly in the spaces between the failures. Just like he was. Hours slipped past like water down cracked pavement. Samuel cycled through data runs, input simulations he already knew would fail, updated reports no one would read. His hands moved automatically across the console, the old rituals of a life that had once meant something. Outside the windowless lab, the world turned without him. The city darkened. Neon veins brightened against the deepening dusk. The tide of humanity shifted, office workers replaced by night vendors, commuters replaced by shadows. When the system pinged the end of his shift, Samuel closed the console without ceremony. No one noticed him leave. No one ever did. The scanner at the lobby buzzed again as he passed through, an indifferent farewell. The night air hit him like a wall. Colder now. Sharper. The smells of the city had changed, less metallic, more organic. Grilled meat from street carts. Spices wafting from hidden alleys. Trash fires burning in rusted barrels near the edges of the commercial zones. Samuel adjusted the strap of his bag and turned toward home. Ahead, a few vendors still clung stubbornly to the sidewalks, their carts casting long shadows under the flickering neon. The crowds had thinned but not disappeared. Centropolis never truly slept. He walked without hurry, without destination beyond the simple gravity of habit. It was just another evening. Just another small cycle of a world that had long since forgotten how to dream. But not everyone was forgotten. Not yet.